Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a pretty big topic, trade war.
Right. And our source material today is a bit unusual.
Yeah, it's just a URL, actually,
Eh,
globaltradenews.us.
Exactly. No specific articles this time.
So our mission, really, is to explore what a trade war might actually entail based on what a site called Global Trade News would likely cover.
It's a bit of inference, but yeah, given the name, we can, make some pretty good guesses about the kind of content we'd find there.
Okay, so let's do that. If you land on globaltradenews.us, what kinds of things, what stories are you probably seeing?
Well, top of the list, I'd expect reporting on, how countries are dealing with each other economically, trade policies, new agreements.
Or disagreements, maybe?
Absolutely. Disagreements, regulations, basically the day-to-day shaping of international commerce.
Uh-huh. The rules of the road for buying and selling stuff globally.
Precisely. And right alongside that, you definitely find analysis. What do these decisions mean?
Meaning, like, for the economy.
Yeah, for economies, who wins, who loses when a new tariff pops up? What are the sort of ripple effects for industries, for jobs?
Following the money, basically.
Uh-huh.
Makes sense. What else?
You'd absolutely see stuff on the specific tools countries use, the mechanics of it all.
Like tariffs.
Tariffs, for sure. Taxes on imports. And quotas, too, limits on how much stuff can come in. These are the main levers.
Okay, the nuts and bolts of controlling trade flows.
Right. And tariffs themselves, they can be like a percentage ad valorem or sometimes a fixed amount per item. Details a site like this would cover.
And I guess they'd also be tracking the relationships between countries, especially the big players.
Oh, definitely. The state of play between major economies, the US and China, the EU, that's crucial. Plus, how political stuff spills over into trade.
Yeah, you can't really separate them sometimes.
Not really. And you'd hope to see different perspectives, too. How does this look from, say, Germany versus how it looks from Brazil, or from the auto industry versus agriculture?
Okay, so we've painted a picture of this news site. Finger on the pulse of global trade.
Yeah, that's the idea.
So, bring it back to our term,
Yeah.
trade war. In that context, what does it likely mean?
Well, if normal trade is about agreements and navigating policies, even difficult ones,
Yeah.
a trade war suggests things have gone wrong. Seriously wrong.
Like a breakdown.
Yeah, a breakdown and escalation. It implies countries aren't just disagreeing, they're actively using trade policy against each other. As a weapon, almost.
So less talking, more. Economic punching.
That's a good way to put it. You'd expect to read about retaliatory tariffs. Country A hits country B's exports, so country B hits back, maybe on different goods.
A tit for tat.
Exactly, a cycle that can, spiral.
And this is where it probably starts hitting home for you listening right now. What are the impacts of this kind of thing?
Oh, the impacts can be huge. First thing that comes to mind is disruption. Global supply chains, they get really messed up.
Yeah.
Well, think about your phone or your car. Parts come from all over the place, right? Tariffs suddenly make those parts more expensive, harder to get.
Mm-hmm.
It throws a wrench in the whole production process, and guess who often pays for that?
The end consumer.
Us.
Often, yeah.
Yeah.
Higher prices on the shelf. That's a very direct impact you might feel.
Ouch. So it's not just abstract numbers in governments.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And there's also the uncertainty factor.
Yeah.
If businesses don't know what trade rules will look like next month or next year,
They get nervous.
exactly.
Yeah.
They might hold off on investing, on hiring, on expanding. That kind of hesitation can really slow down the whole economy.
Are certain areas usually hit harder?
Historically, yeah.
Mm.
Industries that rely heavily on those complex international supply lines, electronics, automotive, that sort of thing, they're often quite vulnerable. We'd probably see similar patterns reported on a site like this.
Okay, so let's try and summarize, even without the actual articles from the website.
Just the term trade war, combined with the focus of a site like globaltradenews.us, it points towards, well, escalating conflict, tariffs used as weapons.
Disrupted supply chains and real economic consequences for businesses and, importantly, for consumers like you.
Yeah. It's basically when the normal rules of trade kind of break down.
Right. It moves from negotiation and rule following to something much more adversarial and potentially painful, economically speaking.
So the takeaway for you listening,
Mhm.
maybe it's that even just knowing a resource like this exists highlights how interconnected everything is.
Definitely. And how these big international disputes aren't just happening over there,
Yeah.
they can ripple out and affect things much closer to home.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe.
Go for it.
With all this information available,
Hmm.
I mean, sites like the one we discussed, news outlets covering trade constantly, How does actually paying attention to this stuff change how you see the world, how you understand the economy you're part of?
That's the key question, isn't it? Maybe
Yeah.
clicking that link, exploring globaltradenews.us or similar sites, is the next step in figuring that out for yourself.
Something to consider. Thanks for digging into this with us today.
My pleasure.
Until our next deep dive.